Okay. Well, we can see that somebody's going to get their programming adjusted. As you saw from that presentation, we use a lot of avatars in our work at the Effective Writing Center. So for us, that line from the Disney movie, Meet the Robinsons, "The future has arrived today," is true. But you know, that future was predicted as long as 13 years ago when people like the Drucker Foundation wrote, "Our methods of instruction are outmoded. Our physical institutions hopelessly unsuited and totally unneeded." Outmoded? Unneeded? Unsuited? Moi? Yes, moi. We are smack dab in the middle of a revolution. And that revolution, the digital revolution, can mean a lot of things. The ways that we deliver courses, the students who are in the courses, the content of those courses. But one of the things that's most important for us to understand at this conference is summarized by this quote right here from the New Media Consortium, published in their work, The Global Imperative, back in 2005. And it reads, "A profound shift is taking place in the way people communicate and express themselves. A new concept of language and what it means to be literate is evolving. A new language is evolving. A new literacy is evolving." And something else that is evolving for the first time that we know of is the use of technology as a leverage point in the competition among institutions of higher learning. For the first time, technology has become a core differentiator between schools that are going to thrive and survive and those who are on the Department of Education's financial watch list, between schools that get corporate sponsors and their money and grow and thrive and offer new programs, and those who don't amid this era of incredible budget cutbacks. So technology is not just a way of communicating today. Technology is a way of survival today. And it's also creating what's being called the online rush. What's the rush, you say? Well, the Sloan Consortium tells us a little bit about the rush. Published in 2008, was their study of enrollments for the calendar year 2007, in which they found a 12% increase in online enrollments versus a 1% increase in traditional or face-to-face enrollment. And then, maybe you saw this, it just came out in November. It's their study for the 2008 numbers, the last year for which we have numbers, in which they found a 17% increase in online enrollments vis-a-vis a 1.4 increase in on-ground face-to-face enrollments. Online enrollments, alpine ski slope. Face-to-face enrollments, flat as a pool table. The online rush is perhaps being fueled by what we're seeing today in terms of outcomes. Maybe you also saw, published in June of last year, this Department of Education report. This Department of Education report is a meta-analysis, and they compared over 1,000 other previously published analyses of the effectiveness of different kinds of educational modes. And here is what they found. This is their conclusion, the U.S. Department of Education. Let's read it together. Students who took all or part of their class online performed better, on average, than those taking the same course through traditional face-to-face instruction. The Department of Education also went on to rank the three modes of instruction by their effectiveness. And here is what they found. Coming in at number one was hybrid education, and that was in any combination of online or on ground in terms of time spent. Coming in at our number two slot was online education. And today, the U.S. Department of Education ranks face-to-face instruction as the third least effective mode of education available to students today. Do you think maybe the online rush and the outcomes are acting synergistically, that maybe there's a cause-effect relationship there? Well, a dean at my school does. As a matter of fact, she said, either we give these students what they want or our competition will. And there was another dean from another century ago who also talked about competition. And that dean said, adapt or die. Well, we don't want to die. We want to keep our jobs. Most of all, we want to do a good job for our students. So that's why at the Effective Writing Center, beginning in 2007, we started focusing on how we could make our courses, our materials, our entire instructional package more appropriate for today's students in today's digital environment. And we began with what's called the multimedia effect, which has been around for 20-something years and has been fully documented in the empirical literature and led by such legendary figures as Richard Mayer and Ruth Clark, on whose shoulders we stand. And the multimedia effect is simply this, that students learn best when their lessons are multimodal and multimedia. Multimodal means it's using all of the neural pathways, auditory, visual, kinesthetic. And of course, multimedia means it's not just text. There's also video, audio, art, illustrations, flash, interaction, etc., etc. So we began focusing on what we could best do in a multimedia format. And very quickly, we found that entering came the avatar, both emboldened and embodied with his or her own 15 years of empirical research. And I wanted to go over just three quick major points from that literature review, from that research, and they are: we know that the avatars provide what is called a personal agent effect. You know, whenever students perceive a social interaction to take place, that student's comprehension, retention, and perseverance in that lesson is automatically updated, automatically upgraded, and students do perceive interaction with an avatar as a social interaction. Then there is what's called the modality effect. Simply that the literature has shown that whenever you're presenting verbal information, students learn best when that verbal information is spoken rather than written. It's a key point, and kind of flips on its head a lot of the materials that you see online today that we want our students to learn from. And then the third effect is the social intelligence effect. Simply that the more social intelligence that there is in that lesson, and in that avatar, from gestures, voice, the ability to interact with it, the ability to manipulate it itself and be a part of it, the more effective that lesson will be. And you put all those things together and you get a thing called presence and co-presence. Presence, that sense of being there, and co-presence, that sense of being there with someone. One of the reasons that 3D virtual worlds are so intriguing and important today in education, because truly that 3D virtual world gives a strong sense of presence and co-presence. Now, if you ask yourself why, and if you look at all the surveys, why an adult student, or anyone really, would choose to spend $2.50 a gallon on gasoline, drive across town in traffic, walk across a dark campus, sit in rows of chairs in a concrete classroom and listen to a lecture, as opposed to taking a class online, invariably the one thread that runs through all of their answers to that question of why is, I wanted to be there. I wanted to feel like I was with other people. So the online avatars, the human avatars, allow us to address what has been the Achilles heel of online education, that sense of presence and co-presence. And indeed, we know that the more anthropomorphic that avatar is, the more engaged the student will be with it.